Hey, welcome everybody to Thursday morning. Only one day left before the national tournament gets underway. Boy, I can't wait. I don't know about you, but one of the big games Friday is Oregon Tech versus Indiana Tech. Not just because I'm an Oregon Tech fan, but these teams are pretty well matched. We're going to talk more about that. But today we have Ted Albert. He is the head men's basketball coach, Indiana Tech Warriors. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Hey, today we have Ted Albert, head men's basketball coach at Indiana Tech. If you look at the game, a couple of us have looked at this. Not possible. It's the matchup tomorrow, Oregon Tech and Indiana Tech. These two teams really match up closely. Break them down statistically, they look the same. Look at their value points across the board, they look the same. Look at their assist to turnover ratio, same. They out rebound by about the same. They both out rebound by about 7 rebounds. It really looks like a good matchup, a good first round game. Regardless of what happens, it should be a great NAIA game. We wanted to talk to Ted Albert for a couple of minutes. He's been in this situation many times. He's taken his teams very deep in the national tournament, as you know, as has Justin Parnell. So we're looking forward to this matchup. Let's take a listen to Ted Albert. He's the head men's basketball coach, Indiana Tech Warriors. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. I got Ted Albert on the line. He's the head men's basketball coach, Indiana Tech Warriors. Welcome, Coach. Thanks for being on.
Billy, always good to talk to you. We appreciate everything you do for NAIA Hoops and certainly, showcasing our young men when we have the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. That does mean a lot. I want to ask you, you guys had, I'm not going to say a terrible start, but it was the first 4 games. You stumbled a bit out of the gate, but your team really turned it around. You won 9 out of 10 going into that cornerstone game. You got really hot there. You handled the WAC. It was a tough. I want to talk about the conference, but you guys pretty much held the lead all season. Talk about your team and their toughness this season.
Yeah, I mean, we always start off with a tough weekend.
Yeah, you do.
Playing Wesleyan and Spring Arbor. And, we started 1-3, I think, is what we started the year off. And I think a lot of that certainly could be chalked up to our guys just relearning one another and kind of inserting some new pieces and, just kind of figuring out who was going to play what role for us and kind of guys, really accepting and sacrificing a little bit. And that takes time. And certainly we didn't want to start out 1-3, but was kind of the reason I would say that we're in the position we are now. And obviously, winning 9 of our last 10, but winning 22 out of 26, I think is a testament to our guys' ability to adjust and kind of refocus and come together, I think is the biggest piece. Just that leadership role and the togetherness, it's certainly taken a large step forward.
Coach, you have a lot of guys who really contributed, made big contributions this season. But you and I talked just before we started. The guy who just absolutely caught my eye this season is Crew Gibson, kind of a stretch 4. He can shoot the ball. He can get inside. He's big. He can rebound. He's just had a heck of a year for you guys, hasn't he?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we knew that he had that potential. And I think last year, with some of the injuries that we had, certainly he got thrown into the fire in a really big way. And the young man just works his butt off, cares about his teammates. He's a competitor, and obviously he's still learning and growing and on and off the court. And that's one thing that, he's pushing himself to continue to do. And, he's one of those guys that it's kind of like, even on a night where maybe he doesn't completely dominate the game and you go look at the box score and he's got 15 and 12 and 6 assists and impacts the game here and there. And there are also times where we say, hey, give him the ball and, kind of, facilitate from there, do your thing. I think he's a good passer. Certainly being a lefty helps, and being able to stretch the floor a little bit is advantageous for him and us, and has really taken a big step forward for us this year. And obviously that puts us in the position that we're in when you have a young guy like that can step up to the plate in the way that he has.
And then you got a couple old hands, I'll call them. I mean, Blake Davison, a guy I met in Kansas City a couple years ago, really, really nice young man, and Max Perez as well. Max Perez, I swear he's been around since you built the gym. But having those guys who've been there, been to Kansas City, got down, you guys went to the final game, having those guys around, what does that mean this time of year?
Oh, it helps a ton. I mean, you win in tournament time, certainly with experience and upperclassmen. And, Blake and Max have been around, and Max especially, but Blake too, because his older brother, JD, Jeremy, played for us too. So the Davisons have been around forever. The Perezes have been around forever. We obviously love both of those families, but having those two guys and some other older guys that maybe weren't on that team but have experience is a huge piece. But they had to learn, how to fully take the reins of that leadership role too. I mean, it's a lot easier said than done, especially when the expectation is what it is, and they know what that should look and feel like. And when it doesn't, they harness a lot of that. Yeah. So whether it is, in the stat sheet, or whether it's, from a leadership role, they've both, we have several guys that have been great leaders for us, but those guys in particular, just from being around as much as they have, certainly make my life easier. And, when it comes from a numbers standpoint, certainly somebody like Blake, we've, had to play last year without him.
Yeah.
There are times where, he's got 12 points and we're up 12 with 6 minutes to go. And we could certainly put him back in to get his numbers. But I tell my assistants all the time, I'm like, I've lived a season without Blake Davison. I'm not doing it again. So let some of our younger guys kind of ride this one out. And he's just one of those. Certainly him and Max are both incredible young men, have grown a ton here, and have certainly helped me in my growth as a coach, just from a relational standpoint. And we're certainly thankful that they're wearing our uniform and not somebody else's.
Coach, it's funny you mentioned about guys learning how to be leaders. I remember really vividly Blake Davison being kind of escorted around Kansas City by all those fifth years you had that year, really showing him the ropes and taking care of him. And, it's kind of funny. It's now he's one of the older guys, showing around some of the younger guys. It's kind of a life cycle, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. It for him in that position, and him and Max were in a similar position. True, where it was, almost, I shouldn't say pressure free, because that's not the right way to put it, but it was a little bit, in the sense that that group on that particular team, a lot of those older guys did harness a lot of the leadership and a lot of the pressure. And, it allowed guys like Max and Blake to, just be who they were. And then once you get into that chair, you're sitting in a different seat. So you have, just like, challenging yourself and developing your game as a player on the court, leadership and that value is the same exact approach. And they've done a really good job of really pushing themselves and getting outside their comfort zone a little bit. And that's where a lot of our growth has come from, is just that, uncomfortable feeling. And that's where, we grew as a team and they grew as leaders. And that's really helped propel us onto this next phase, our last phase here with this group in particular. So,
I want to talk more about your team, but I want to touch on a couple guys who've just shot the leather off the ball. Brady Titus, he's a junior, shot 47% from three, and Dallas Roberts, he's just a sophomore. Everybody in the WAC is just bristled when I said that. He's shooting 44% from three. Is this one of your better 3-point shooting teams?
Oh, and without a doubt.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I when we went to the national title game, and actually Grant Smith and I were just talking about that a couple weeks ago. I think that team, we only took like 15 or 16 threes a game, because it was a very, very different group of guys where we were more physical. I think we played inside a ton more, and obviously the game has changed, so we've had to adjust a little bit. And having someone like Brady who works so hard on his game and has his pull-up jumper is as good as a layup, but he had to really push himself to knock down some of those standstills to make his game and everyone else around him a little bit better, and he's done that. And when you talk about sacrifice, I mean, that's Dallas Roberts to a T, because, I've told so many coaches this, he would start on a ton of teams that are even in our region and average double figures, even more than that, and has bought into the bigger picture of our group. And his time's coming. And not only that, he's had plenty of moments where he's helped propel us, to either stretch a lead, gain a lead. He's a young man that, I have full trust and faith in, and he completely changes the game. That he's a sniper, and he's stone cold. He's not scared of anything. He's not scared of any moment, and you can just tell by the way he carries himself. And not only that, his teammates love him, coaches love him. We love being around him, and same with Brady. He's grown so much as a young man, just challenging himself as a competitor. And, I think that him having Corey McKinney every single day his freshman year really kind of showed him what playing hard was. And as a freshman, that's a tough lesson to learn going from high school to college. I remember myself having to learn some of those lessons, and that's where now it's kind of Brady's job, where he's mentored a little bit. He never takes a day off and pushes everybody in practice and changes the game from a pace standpoint. And it's nice to have floor spacers, and certainly nice to have guys that can, a different group of guys that can go get you double digits on any given night, regardless of what those averages state in the stat sheet.
Coach, we talked about you had a lot of guys who can score the ball, but your real calling card this season, and this is kind of in the whack, you got to defend, but you hold teams under 40% from shooting, under 30% from three, and then you out rebound them by 7. Talk about your emphasis on defense.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and I have, obviously probably too many times, when you go back and peek at our losses, of the 7 losses, I believe 5 of them we allowed 6 of the 7, I believe, are 79 points or more, which is far too many points from my standpoint. I also, a little more old school coming, from the WAC and just being a gritty defensive type conference. There are going to be days where you can't throw it in the ocean. So what are you going to lean on, especially when you're halfway across the country? So defense is always our mindset. I think we struggled with that team defensive concept early on. I think that's also a little bit of our struggle early. And, I think our guys have done a really good job of learning how to communicate with one another. And we say it all the time, talk about it, fix it, move on. And it didn't really resonate probably until, middle of December, maybe after Christmas a little bit, where they started to see a lot more big picture. And that's when, we really started to turn the corner and take the path that we're on now as a group. Is we've bought into that mindset, especially because we know that we have a handful of guys that can put it in the basket on any given night. So, giving ourselves that opportunity, defensively is always my number one thing. And nowadays, I don't think it's a lot of players' number one thing, but that's just kind of the way the game has gone. And a testament to, again, our older guys, bringing our young guys along and teaching them and learning how to, adapt. And you don't have time in a 40-minute game to sit there and kind of draw the full picture or landscape. They have to do it on their own, and got to be player-led and player-coached at this point in the year. Otherwise, you're going home a lot sooner than everyone else.
You're getting ready. You're down there in Arizona. You're getting ready for Friday. You're going to play a team that people know I follow pretty close, Oregon Tech. I've looked at I've talked to a lot of people feel like you guys are very, very similar teams, that this might be one of the best games in that first round of 32 games. They're similar. They got a lot of guys who can score, high assist to turnover ratio. They take care of the ball just like you guys do. And they really like to pound the boards just like you guys do. I know you've taken a look at them, but when you look at Oregon Tech, what are your impressions?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that we're pretty similar makeups. Tough, gritty. I think that they rebound it really well. They move the basketball really well. Even when you look at numbers, obviously they have a few guys that average more points per game than others. But they have guys that can impact the game without having to run sets to them, guys that cut and move really well. They just play hard at all times. Obviously, Coach Purnell's done a really good job with this group and has, you can see the vision behind what he's built, and we have a lot of respect for them. I think that this is certainly one of the tougher matchups in the opening round across the country, and there's no doubt in my mind it'll be a tough, gritty one, and certainly both are going to be focused on that defensive end because we know what the other group can do across the sidelines offensively.
Coach, you've had a lot of success getting to the national tournament. You've had a lot of success in the national tournament. What does it mean for you to get that program there as often as you do? What does it mean for the institution and your program and your guys when they know that they have a really good chance of going to the national tournament every year?
Yeah, it's all about. I reflect back. I tell my assistants this all the time. Like, I remember what it was like as a player, and I want to give these guys this experience, but I also understand that I'm not the one that's in control of that. Certainly, we can bring players in and we recruit certain ways and we can help develop them however they want. But when it comes down to it, it really has to be something that they want collectively. And I still, remember the feelings that we had, when I was a player in the national tournament and the experiences and the relationships. I think a lot of those things go hand in hand, and that's just what I want for these guys.
Yeah.
You form bonds and you create memories that are going to last no matter how far you move apart. Whether it be a job that takes you here, whatever, after, your basketball career, whatever your next professional endeavor is, whenever you get back together, it's the same feeling like you guys hadn't left each other in years. And I think that that's the most important piece, because without that, I don't think you really do, win the ones that matter. And not only that, but the important piece for me too is to, obviously none of us no coaches get into sports and don't want to win. I mean, I think
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
that's a given. I think that that's an expectation, and I think that for me, that's a little overshadowed by the sense that I want our guys to care about one another. I want them to grow together. You're going to have to go through a lot of adversity, regardless of how you slice it. Nothing is ever going to be as perfect as you want it to be. Or as good as it feels at the end. You have to understand, when you go back and look, okay, this was our turning point, or this is when we really decided that we were going to come together. Or, when you go back and look at those moments, that's where you grow together the most. That's where you get, kind of your tightness as a group and your togetherness. And that's something we've been, really pushing with this group. And now they've kind of taken that torch and they're starting to, move that forward on their own, where it's not having to be, continuously talked about. This is something that's becoming natural. And I think that's the key.
That's kind of one of the things that really draws me to small college NAIA basketball is you can be more intimate with a team you follow, and you can see it grow as a unit and see young men mature, and all those things you just talked about. I think from a fan standpoint, it's really satisfying, more than just having a seat in section 4, seat 47. You actually get to see these young men mature and become a unit, and then go on to do great things after school as well. That's always satisfying. Yeah, I agree.
Well, no doubt about it. I think the purity has stayed the longest at our level.
Yeah.
And just kind of that natural base. And the further you get up level wise, whatever you want to call it, however you want to order it, doesn't matter to me. I think the purity at our level is what just attracts me, and what has, certainly driven me to continue to try to push this group forward. And not only that, but we love where we're at. We love our administration. We love the support that we get from everyone on campus, from the president down, athletic director. It's a special place, and I'm certainly thankful to be here and call these young men part of my family. And that's the important piece. And without that, I mean, what is the point of it anyway? So.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes. I'm looking forward to that game on Friday, just like everybody is. And you know what? Obviously, like you said, coaches are never going to be satisfied unless they win. But for the rest of the country, we just want to see a really good NAIA basketball game. See some great young men play the game they love, the game that we love, and that's really what I'm looking forward to. Obviously, whoever loses is going to be disappointed. Nobody's a worse loser than I am, but it's all about the game and the young men, and it's just another piece of their life that they'll never ever forget.
No doubt about it. And that's the best part of this experience. And yeah, you're right. I think 50% of the people that are playing in that game are going to be disappointed. The other 50% are going to be, refocusing on to the next day.
Yes.
And, however that falls out, I know that I have complete trust and faith in my staff and our young men. And, however that game rolls out, is what's meant to be, and we know that we're certainly divinely led and not in control, but we can have the approach and obviously the mental fortitude to sustain a lot of that, and looking forward to a really good one. I know it's going to be a good one. I've haven't slept a whole lot since the draw, so we're not because we have a little one at home now, but
that helps.
It helps. I told someone the other day, it's actually kind of nice because my wife has to wake up every few hours to feed our little man now, and so I actually have someone to talk to when I'm up for some of those periods of time. I'm not just sitting there by myself anymore. So.
Well, Coach, I know you're pretty intense, so you're probably up a lot of hours. I wish everybody luck. I wish you guys luck going into the tournament here. And, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes. Thank you very much.
As always, I appreciate you, Billy, and everything you do, and looking forward to a good one on Friday.
That's Ted Albert. He's the head men's basketball coach, Indiana Tech. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you to Ted Albert and to Indiana Tech. I really appreciate him giving me time after he's at the site there. He's getting his team ready to sit down with us for 20 minutes. The little glitch with the blank space at the end that happened, that was my fault. I moved the mouse at the wrong time. I tell you, I'm not your technical savvy guy, but I apologize for what were there 3 seconds of silence, and I really apologize for that. But anyway, thank you to Ted Albert and to Indiana Tech. Well, tomorrow is the day. We're gonna play on Friday. We're gonna knock it down from 32 to 16. We're gonna play on Saturday, and we're gonna knock it down we're gonna play on Friday, knock it down from 64 to 32. I wasn't a math major. And then we're gonna play on Saturday, and we're gonna knock it down from 32 to 16, and then we're going to go to Kansas City, and everybody who gets to Kansas City, I'm going to be there waiting for you right in the lobby of the Crown Plaza. I can't wait. So everybody enjoy. Hopefully your team's in it. If they're not, just browse around, find a game, because they're all going to be great. This is Billy D, and we'll be back with you. We'll do a wrap-up show after the first round and the second round, and I'll see everybody then in Kansas City. Thank you. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school, because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.